lors de la disparition d'un avion de liaison le 12 octobre 1969 dans le massif du Mont Blanc, la Poste a le plaisir de vous faire parvenir la lettre ci-jointe qui vous était destinée. Veuillez recevoir, Madame Wallace, toutes nos excuses pour ce retard inhabituel. Jacques Grosjean, directeur des relations publiques.
Today I want to talk about one of the most recognizable Korean indie labels, especially to those of us who are into Shibuya-K. Pastel Music was a Korean independent label founded in 2002 by Youngmin Lee. They specialize in pop music, but also feature a variety of other styles. I took my time leading up to this with several other videos about K-indie, so make sure that you check those out if you get a chance. This label was a pretty big deal in the Korean indie scene. At the 2006 Korean Popular Music Awards, they were named Best Label. They served as bridgeheads for K-indie with sister label Happy Robot Records, and Pastel Music not only influenced a new style of synth pop in Shibuya-K with light, soft, and lyrical music, but they also broke the border between mainstream and indie. Asian music scenes were still very much feeling a lot of Shibuya-K vibes when South Korea's indie scene began growing in the early 2000s. If there was a label that brought down-tempo dance pop with bossa elements and a lot of indie Shibuya-K influence, it was them. South Korean bands Classikai Project, Casker, and Humming Urban Stereo are often seen as representing a Korean neo-Shibuya-K movement. What made this record label so interesting is the overall awakening and acceptance of a variety of new indie styles. This movement was sort of brought to Korea early in the 2000s when more experimental indie music started to take off. Shibuya-K had sort of ran its course in Japan, and it was up to smaller artists to carry the torch for those who were interested in continuing the sound. Following the taste of indie music at the time, Korea's Shibuya-K influenced musicians sort of followed the softer side of the sound. The music is generally gentler, and musicians tended to use chilled, laid-back instrumentation and composition. I think people really found this appealing given how loud and bombastic K-pop was starting to become at this time. In 2002, Pastel Music was founded as international music importers. They distributed music and started overseas music licensing and production. Through mergers with other indie companies, they formed a network for getting some of the best international underground releases into the country. In an interview with Youngmin Lee, he states that unlike countries that have a well-developed music industry such as Britain, the United States, and Japan, there is a lack of variety of music genres and respect for them, which is a huge obstacle to the growth and improvement in the indie scene. Although it's still improving, it is still a difficult aspect. Regarding the conception of the record label, he says that rather than having a huge goal, I think it's more accurate to say that I wish to share the kind of music I enjoyed with lots of people. Also, at the beginning, the company relied a lot more on foreign music licenses. After signing with local bands, like Tearliner or Humming Urban Stereo, the company started to license as well as produce albums. In 2003, they scored the opportunity to promote Rachel's Cold and took the initiative to start distributing content online far ahead of many of their competitors. They began licensing records from Arco and Maximilian Hecker. Casker is basically the flagship of mellow South Korean electronic music. Casker originally started as a solo project of Juno Lee. He built monumental achievement in South Korea early in the electronic scene with his 2003 debut album, The Planet Built with Steel. Warm and jovial lounge techno music captivated young electronic fans who hadn't heard this type of music before. Since then, Casker has represented the mellow side of South Korean electronic music. Blue Dawn. The music of Blue Dawn is both ambient and folk. It hits both genres with an astounding, quiet force. The group was active in the early 2000s and released 2 albums and 1 CD containing 2 EPs. Their 2003 album Blue Dawn features the additional musicians Orange Drink and Virum on the song Sonyan. The duo disbanded in late 2006, following the recording of their final album, When Spring Comes. In 2004, they would score an online source distribution partnership with Music City, as well as the Goethe Institute. They would continue releasing works by Maximilian Hecker, as well as promoting his performances. They promoted performances by Osaka Monorail, but also released Plymouth Perth's Tribute to Flipper's Guitar. Their work with Dahlia, Swinging Popsicle, and Osaka Monorail was keeping with the spirit of Neo Shibuya-K, and they would go on to license music from Japanese indie labels. Sugimo Acacia Band was a duo composed of Min Hong and Yoon Ji. Their sentimental melodies and lyrics have become very popular in Korea, keeping the band continuing on to this day. To keep things fresh, the band has begun a project where for every album they invite a group of freelance members to diversify the sound of their music. Tearliner. Tearliner actually started out as a 6-member band in January of 2004, but before the release of its first album, the group turned into a duo and then a one-man band. Tearliner, who also just goes by Liner, born Park Sung-hoon, was never classically trained and doesn't even read sheet music. His music is influenced by everything he has experienced in life, and is one of the front runners for the early dream pop type sound. In 2005, they hosted a 2-day music festival with Swan Dive, Humming Urban Stereo, Classic Project, and others. They would continue to release music from Maximilian Hecker and scored a distribution agreement with JVC Victor. In 2005, Lee Ji-rin's Humming Urban Stereo had already established themselves as one of the most prominent artists in the genre. They were perhaps most well known for their 2005 hit Hawaiian Couple, and their tragic history and compelling discography is definitely worthy of its own video.
I heard that Tim Leary said as he was dying that he was looking forward to the moment when his body was dead, but his brain was still alive. You know, they say that there's still 6 to 12 minutes of brain activity after everything else is shut down. And the second, dream consciousness, right? Well, that's infinitely longer than a waking second. You know what I'm saying?
Instant Romantic Floor debuted in 2005 under Pastel Music. The group was inactive for 5 years before making their comeback in 2012. Their music finds a balance between the mellow dance pop influences and a loud rapping style with lots of R&B elements. Misty Blue was a Korean indie pop rock band. They debuted as a 3-member band in 2005 under Pastel Music and disbanded in June of 2010. They reunited in 2013 to release the cover song Watch the Star, included on Pastel Music's 10th anniversary release. They were the winners of the 2005 Gwangyang Music Valley Rookie of the Year Award and the 2006 Daejeon Best Original Score Rookie Award in Modern Rock. Bolsazo materialized the so-called hip-hop spirit with noisy guitars, skate-punk influenced melodies, and solemn samplings. In 2006, Pastel Music won the South Korea on Pop Label of the Year Award and secured distribution agreements with Spain's Siesta label. Leading into 2007, they hosted a noteworthy countdown party with Fantastic Plastic Machine and Free Tempo at the Hyatt Grand Ballroom. It was at this point that Pastel Music had a reputation as one of the go-to record labels for local indie music. They were scoring deals and signing artists left and right, and in 2007 continued to see a lot of success with their online music sales. They signed Adult Child, a Korean indie pop singer under Pastel Music, who debuted as a 3-member band. Although not content to be a one-hit wonder, 3 years later, in 2009, bandleader, vocalist, and guitarist Cassie released the album Dandelion as a solo artist, although still under the band's stage name. The next logical step for Pastel Music was to begin facilitating the production of music for larger local production companies, including dramas for NBC. Later that year, they signed Donna Whale, a band with an interesting layered shoegaze guitar style. In 2008, Pastel Music would begin holding musical auditions in order to try to seek out new local talent. The drama licensing and content creation agreements kept coming in, and they would continue to sign new interesting artists, such as Belle Epoque, a Korean indie pop two-member band that officially debuted in 2008 under Pastel Music. This band was created by Misty Blue bassist Choi Kyung-hoon as a side project where they were both on a 3-year hiatus from their own respective bands. Pastel Music also signed Taru, an indie artist known for completely reinventing her image between each album. In 2009, they would continue to sign more deals for music online distribution through KT Music and even received the IF Digital Media Division Award. LG Electronics commissioned Pastel Music to produce a compilation album for the promotion of one of their lines of phones. Yozo released her first album, My Name is Yozo, in 2007. For contributing much to bringing Hongik University's district indie music to the mainstream, she is also known as the singing goddess of the Hongdae district. In 2010, she ventured into acting, appearing in Sogyumo, Acacia Band's Café Noir, and Come Closer. And 2010 saw them continuing to pick up and promote even more events and concerts, such as the Save the Green Air concert, an environmental campaign that they ran with Jin Air. In 2012, they released the Pastel Music Essay Book and put on a 10-year anniversary show, as well as several other high-profile concerts. The change, improvement, and growth of Pastel can be seen through the expanding scene of indie music in the center of Hongdae. In 2013, they continued to work with LG Electronics, scored deals with Nitto Pharmaceutical, and created compilations and distributed content in partnership with several other local, high-profile production companies. Pastel Music was even called upon by Google to come up with music for an ad promoting the Google Nexus 2. This release, however, was cancelled due to some unfortunate circumstances with the advertiser. If I look back at the last 10 years while expanding the size of the company has expanded the spectrum of producing through albums, performances, and events, drama OSTs and film soundtracks, and various other types of promotional content. In 2015, they continued focusing on releasing music, and several of their signed acts received awards for the South Korean Popular Music Award for Best Pop and Electronic Song. In 2016, one of their artists, Trampolines, won the South Korea Popular Music Award for Best Pop and Electronic Song again, and things began to sort of slow down for the label. 2017 saw the release of the Pastel Music Collection, which could be kind of seen as a little bit of a retrospective for labels. Perhaps it was the changing taste of audiences, increased competition from other labels, increased competition from other online music vendors, or simply key people wanting to move on to different things. But in 2017, the label became defunct and is currently not producing any music, with no plans for the upcoming future.
Yeah. I've been thinking also about something you said.
It would be nice to know a little bit more about why this record label, which seemed like it had so much momentum in the mid-2000s, suddenly ceased operations. But perhaps Youngmin Lee felt as though he had achieved his mission. In the interview that we mentioned earlier, he says that at the moment, K-pop is in fashion all over the world. It is necessary to let people know that there is indie music in Korea as well. As K-pop artists hold showcases abroad, I believe our country's indie bands will be able to perform at famous rock festivals abroad. And in order to do so, it is crucial to attract more of a variety of fans. And that even more than now, a wide range of music will be made and the variety of fans will expand. Even if it takes a long time, it will catch up to the level of the music industries in developed countries. Of course, it's not easy and it may take more time than expected. What I am sure of is that if the music market is to expand to make different kinds of music, the basic technology, especially improvement to the unrestricted flat rate, abolition, and the distribution rate is urgent. In addition to producing music content, Pastel Music established Brownie Entertainment in 2011 to handle the distribution of on- and offline records. In the mid-2000s, when the record label was the most active, the external design, corporate marketing, branding, as well as cultural music market had grown into a comprehensive cultural enterprise through a gradual growth in various aspects. And in 2016, Pastel Music would even go on to promote a project called the School of Pastel, where they did not stop at simply producing music content, but also provided opportunities and explored the possibility of diversifying fusion between content. With their catchphrase of write, make, and enjoy, the School of Pastel offered various writing classes, making classes, drawing classes, and had a vision of becoming an alternative school and playground for everyone who wanted to learn. Regardless of what happens with Pastel Music, and if they ever return to being active again, I think it's very cool that they give South Korean music fans an outlet to enjoy various types of underground music that originated from Japan. Back in 2006, there were 4 major concerts by the top Japanese singers and groups in Korea, including Arashi, Kotomaki, Winds, and Paris Match. All of these concerts sold out quickly, and thousands of young Korean fans showed passionate responses, from the stars' arrival at the airport to their departure. Since then, many of the sensibilities and styles from Japan's underground can still be felt echoing through the music of many new artists today. Anyways, it's been really fun doing a bit of a deep dive into Pastel Music's back catalog in the making of this video. Stay tuned for the 40-minute playlist of Pastel Music songs coming to the music channel, and I'll see you guys next time.